I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. Normally, before this podcast, I pour myself a really quite serious coffee, filter coffee.
Yes.
And it's by my right side as we record. Today, I've traded this for a new toilet roll and a very thick, gloopy Lemsip. Possibly stage 3. I was going to say, I'm going to say it's a stage 3 Lemsip because it says max everything.
Right.
So that's got to be stage 3, hasn't it? And
yes, I would say so. I don't know. Have you
simply has to be
before taking the stage 3 Lemsip? Have you had to take measures to strengthen your head so that you don't take your cap off and find mayonnaise underneath it?
No, I'm struggling to breathe in my sleep for the last 2 nights, so it makes me. I feel like an incredibly old person, but I've just got a bit of a throat on, Rich, a bit of a head on,
yes,
throat on.
I don't. I think I've got a cold coming because just before we started recording, I sneezed and I feel a bit claggy, but it's also because I got home late last night because I was in London. And then I went out for dinner with a friend, and then I got on a train that left on time and then ground to a halt, sort of somewhere around Didcot. It ground to a halt. I think it was Didcot. We were coming into Didcot station, and I was towards the front of the train, and the front of the train arrived at the station, and then the train stopped, and the rest of it wasn't in the wasn't in the station, so they couldn't open the doors to let people on and off. And we sat there, and a very hassled man went steaming up and down the carriage, who worked for the train company, and someone further down went, "What's going on?" And he went, "I'm looking for the train manager." And this bloke went, "What? What's that?" This guy went, "It's the person who's in charge of the train." And then they ran off, and then they announced that the train was broken, and I thought, well, that's just a nuisance. And then 15 minutes later, they announced the train was fixed again, and we pulled into the station properly, and then we carried on, and then it was fine. But I was like, what have they been doing for 15 minutes that's fixed the train? Like, what was wrong with it in the first place that caused it to stop not into Didcot station properly?
DPF.
Oh,
but then it needs to recharge. Doesn't it? I mean, I think the method for recharging DPFs I've always thought was just leave it out in the garage car park on an incredibly high idle with something wedged on. It's like a 2,500 RPM idle.
Oh,
for an hour,
isn't it? Don't they often say you've got to go and drive at 50 miles an hour at a constant 50
in a low
45
gear,
minutes or something?
Yeah, it needs to get glowing hot. I think that's the thing. The filter needs to get glowing hot in order to, which is why short journeys kill diesels, because they can't filter properly. And
I feel like that's that's quite a good slogan. Like dogs die in hot cars and home taping is killing music. You could have a T-shirt with "Short journeys kill diesels" on the front of it, and we should get one made up for the summer car show season.
Loud pipes save lives. Yeah, which I
bloody do. Twice in the last week, I've not almost run people over, but rather I've had people standing in front of my car in car parks because they haven't heard it coming because it's electric and it's not making enough noise.
Yeah. Although whenever I hear loud pipes save lives, because a good friend of mine has got a couple of Harley Davidsons, and of course they're bloody loud. But my brother calls people who are twats, he calls them pipes sometimes.
Yes, I do that as well.
Yeah, so when people say loud pipes save lives, in other words, it's just loud idiots save lives. It's like, I don't know if they do. Do they? I mean, they might. Like, let's say they're a proficient swimmer and they walk past the canal and notice an old person with a dog in a canal. And they go, "Oh, I'm a really good swimmer. I'm going to go in and get that person and the dog." But apart from that, I don't know.
Did you see? Oh, you probably didn't. It was about all those random things that social media serves you. I think it was on Twixter that there was someone who put a picture of a canal in London at night and there were these sort of mysterious glowing lights under the water, and they said in the accompanying text, I thought this was some kind of art installation in the canal, and on closer inspection, someone had thrown one of those lime bikes in the water, and the lights were still on.
No.
Which I thought was quite impressive. Yeah, they keep going.
Oh, my gosh. I was about to say a submersible drone, because I've got all sorts of plans afoot for submersible drones, which I don't want to share to the wider audience yet.
Submersible drones?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
AKA a small radio-controlled submarine. But
yes,
a submersible drone. I've got some. I've been planning some things with submersible drones recently.
In league with your enthusiasm for magnet fishing,
I suppose. Although, it's funny you should mention magnet fishing, because I've not done a bit of it for a while. But I got served up on Instagram by Alan the Rhythm, and Alan served me up this guy in Atlanta, I think he is, in the States, who cycles around dragging a what can only be described as a modified a bottomless trailer, which has some magnets that drag along the ground, and then a brush. And he collects metal debris from the highways or the B roads. You would not believe how much he picks up on a short journey. It's ridiculous. No wonder there are so many punctures out there.
Is it? I'm guessing a lot of wheel weights.
A lot of wheel weights, screws, coat hanger ends, bolts, nuts, loads of weird stuff. I mean, he's even picked up big things, like a brake disc. Oh. Yeah, you don't want to mess around with a stray brake disc, do you?
No.
Which is funny, isn't it? Because I saw it. I don't know if I told you this in a previous podcast. I slowed down to almost walking pace on the A1 recently, and besides noticing the terrible quantity of bottles full of roadside Rioja, I also noticed the fact that there was an entire
Laurie Lucasade.
Yes, exactly. There was an entire caliper for a car with the brake hose still hanging off it, and I went, "Fucking heck! Can you imagine just like losing an entire caliper? Who does that?"
I think you did mention that, didn't you? Because it's just like, how did that come off? And the brake disc as well. How did I presume the brake disc didn't just come off. This is like a lorry of scrap.
This has got to
be a brake disc, and it's just fallen off.
It's got to be.
Otherwise, you'd think if there's a brake disc on the road, there's going to be lots of other parts of the car, including the wheel and stuff. But who knows?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I was on the road this week, I was on the way. I was on the way to a funeral, which is obviously not really a very happy occasion with my family on board. But something made me properly giggle, and I thought I must mention this on the Smith and Sniff cast, because it's just ridiculous. There was a big chiller food lorry, and it was called Bumble Hole Foods. I'm gonna say this again. Bumble Hole Foods. They have a website. They have a website.
I don't know what to make of that, because is it
Bumble?
It's sort of
Hole.
Bumble.
I mean, just type it in just to make sure that I'm not lying. Bumble Hole Foods. I think it's .co.uk. Hang on, I'm just going to do it.
Bumble Hole Foods coming up. Yeah, here we go.
Right, Bumble Hole Foods, producers of quality
two words. It's two.
Yes, it's two. So it's Bumhole Foods, basically. And
well, yes, they're based in Bromsgrove in Worcestershire, apparently.
But like, it's the worst name for a business, because they're trying to sell you quality food products, and yet it's immediately associated with the back end.
It's more specific than that, according to the slogan on their website. They're producers of quality egg products since 1961. Egg products? Do you mean eggs? Why does it say egg products? What are they doing? Hang on. Oh, all right, fair enough. Egg products, because
quiche.
If you go to the products tab on their website, and you go to the products tab, and there's a drop down. It lists 4 products that they sell, and they are liquid egg. What the fuck? Liquid egg? Do you mean the innard bits? I don't understand liquid egg, because sort of as they come, the inside of an egg is sort of not liquid, is it? It's kind of semi-liquid.
Yeah, so maybe
are they liquidizing them?
Yeah, I bet.
Is this whipped egg? I'm going to click on liquid egg. Here we go.
So it's It's Eggy Bumhole Foods.
Eggy Bumhole.
It's ridiculous.
Well, hey, listen, we're scoffing at Bumhole Foods, but they are an M&S Grade A supplier, which I imagine takes quite a lot because the supermarkets are picky, aren't they? But
yes.
It says you cannot make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. At Bumble Hole Foods, we save you the hassle by supplying premium liquid egg for everything from cakes to quiches. Premium liquid egg. I want some of that. That'll save me literally seconds when I'm making an omelette.
It tickled me because we were behind it. I wanted to take a photo, but I was driving. I giggled at it. My mum thought it was quite funny. Then we had to pull in for a quick toilet stop. Then when we came back out the services and joined the motorway again, a couple of minutes later, we came back up behind the Bumhole Foods lorry. And I was like, quick, somebody get a photo. And out of the 3 people in the car, nobody managed to get a photo.
Oh, no.
Which is very annoying. Very annoying.
Wow, this is an education here. This is whether you need liquid egg whites for perfectly whipped meringues, liquid egg yolks for sauces, creamy custard, or a bespoke blend of the two. A bespoke blend of the two. You can specify your yolk to white ratio.
Eggy blend.
Presumably. Eggy blend. Premium liquid egg blend. Simple to store and transport, it's loved by food manufacturers across the land. See, this is all these things going on every day that we don't really know about.
Yeah.
The egg industry. Processing eggs for other people to make other foods.
It's mad.
Wow.
The name of the business just absolutely tickled me. I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing. Just don't know why.
Well, that's why.
Not funny.
That's why
it's just stupid.
That's why I wanted to mention it to you.
I'm quoting again. It says, if you need a reliable liquid egg supply for your food products, we can provide the quality you need, delivered in a way to suit you. Choose buckets, and we can stack 64 onto each pallet in 4 layers of 16.
What?
Choose bags in boxes, and you'll get 90 per pallet in 3 layers of 30. A bucket of liquid egg, imagine that.
Goodness me.
Alternatively, you can opt for a Palicon, which has a capacity for 250 kilos to 1,000 kilos. A ton of liquid egg, imagine that.
Well, imagine
if that lorry toppled over. What a mess.
Well, I was just about to say, imagine if you were a bit of a cheapskate and you were used to going to the cash and carry, and you were like, I tell you what, I'm not going to pay for the pallet service. I'll come and get some. I need 30 buckets of liquid egg. I've got an old Mercedes ML. I'll just back it up round the back. And
yes. Just pipe the egg directly into the boot. I've put an old kid's paddling pool in there.
Oh, gosh. I've got a kid's paddling pool and a load of those canvas buckets, like a camping bucket that collapses into nothing, that's a bit shapeless. Yeah, have a go on that.
And if you have a look in the front passenger footwell, I've got one of those big blue IKEA bags that everybody has in their house, and you could just put some liquid egg in that if you want. It says, now, they're scamps at Bumhole Foods, because the final line of this page says, contact our friendly team today to place an order or talk about a long-term agreement. Let's get cracking.
Oh.
Amazing. Cheeky, egg-based pun.
I feel like I'd like a Bumhole Foods sticker for my laptop or my car, or maybe a toolbox in the garage.
I've gone to the About page here, the pictures of their facilities, I mean, they look it's quite big. It's quite a serious operation.
Would you go on a tour?
It's a family firm.
Would you go on a tour there?
Actually, I would, because, like, do they have a machine? They must have a machine that cracks the eggs, right? But that's got to be an achievement in itself, because anyone who's ever cracked an egg knows there's always a chance a little shard of shell goes into your egg.
It must crack it.
Fish it out.
Must crack it through a gauze.
But then the yolk's going to stay in the gauze, right?
Well, maybe that's what they need to do. They maybe separate. Gosh, I don't know, Rich.
We've gone down a wormhole here on Britain's #1 car podcast.
Well, it's not a wormhole. It's not a wormhole.
Gone down an eggy bumhole. Bumble Hole Foods. Started off in 1961 when the current owner's father and grandfather, David and William Houston, started a small holding. So they're a family firm. They have a state-of-the-art food processing factory today which can break 325,000 eggs per hour.
Hour?
Shit.
Goodness
325,000 eggs per hour. I can't even do the maths on that. They can produce 2.5 million hard-boiled eggs per week.
Goodness me.
That's really good. That's going to cause a lot of bumblehole problems if you eat 2.5 million hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, gosh, that's proper backing up, isn't it? Goodness.
So I guess if you have like a niçoise salad or something from, Pret or somewhere that's got a hard-boiled egg on it, that's got to come from somewhere, hasn't it? And I suppose that's where people like Bumble Hole Foods come in. I don't know. I didn't on their lorries.
Yeah, I didn't realise that we would end up delving so deep on this today. But
no,
that's the way it goes.
I didn't wake up this morning and think I must have a good chat with my mate Johnny about liquid egg and record it for a car podcast.
I've got to say though, it brightened the mood on the way to the funeral, so that was good. I was pleased about that. I know I sent you a picture on WhatsApp because I stumbled across a couple of old car photos lately.
Yes,
and you said it was a crashed Citroen BX and a crashed Mazda MX-5.
From your infamous incident.
From an incident off of a while ago.
Yeah, I can't remember which podcast we talked about it in, but I'm sure.
But we did. I drove it all the way to Granada and delivered it safely for the shoot, and the photographer spent 10 minutes in it, forgot what country he was in, went round a blind corner on the wrong side of the road, and unfortunately smashed really hard into a Citroen BX, which was a lovely French carpenter on his way back home, and ruined both cars, frankly, but the BX got properly torn up. And you said to me, what a great tribute to the late BX designer Marcello Gandini. And it's thought, because he has just passed away, hasn't he?
It was quite apposite that you shared a picture of a wrecked BX just after Gandini died. But I that was, when was that? Last Wednesday, maybe, that news broke. But I did then have a debate with some mates in a nerdy car WhatsApp group that I'm in about Gandini's. He had that signature rear wheel arch, where it sort of looks like the hem of the trailing edge of the opening has been hoiked up.
Yes,
and it looked amazing on the Countach.
Yeah,
which I think was the first place that he used it. I would contend, not to speak ill of the dead, but I would contend that on everything else he put it on, it looked absolutely gash.
Well, I'm trying to. Did he design any Maseratis?
Yeah, because he did that. One of the biturbo variants.
I thought he did. I quite like that.
But it had because as biturbo variants go, it looked all right. What was that called? Was that a Shamal? And it had, but I don't think it was the best looking. It was very obviously, he had to work with what he'd got because it was a biturbo underneath, so he sort of stuck with those kind of proportions. But I feel like it looked, a bit sort of body kitted, and it had that weird boot lid that sort of looked like it had been rested on top of the car rather than being integrated. But then it had the Gandini rear wheel arch, and I think it just looked terrible. But I think the Citroen BX is brilliant, so, swings and roundabouts.
Look, I mean, Miura to Mark 1 Polo, he's doing all right, isn't he? And obviously,
did he do the Mark 1 Polo?
I believe he did the Mark 1 Polo because Giugiaro did the Mark 1 Golf, didn't he? And the Sirocco.
And the Passat. Yeah, Volkswagen basically got a job lot off Giugiaro.
They did. Yeah, so I think Gandini did the Mark 1 Polo, and he did the Renault 5, the Series 2 Renault 5. Did the Renault 5 Turbo? I'm sure he did the Renault 5 Turbo, which obviously
I guess
been in the news a lot lately. Off of and all that.
Is it because I suppose? I was going to say I thought the Mark 1 Polo was Bertoni, but I guess Gandini was at Bertoni at that point, so that would make sense. Yeah, but
there we go. You see,
because it definitely wasn't Giugiaro because he was probably exhausted after having done the Golf Passat.
He just didn't want to
Sirocco.
see. He didn't want to see any. Yeah.
Well, I think it was also because technically the Mark 1 Polo started life as an Audi, and Audi, I think, had a relationship with Bertoni where VW had sort of adopted Ital Design, which was quite a young design house at that point, and used their services extensively.
Exactly.
Anyway,
he did the Stratos. Of course, he did the bloody Stratos, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a car. What a car. It still looks amazing.
Crikey.
It's so short.
See, that's the thing. I feel bad now for slagging off Gandini's rear wheel arch because the good stuff that he did more than compensates for that. And the Stratos, bloody hell.
So hang on, when you say Gandini's wheel arch, it's like people say they say thingy's flip flop. Gandhi.
Oh, Gandhi's like
they say
Gandhi's sandal.
They say Gandhi's flip flop, and so it's. So you've got Gandini's wheel arch and Gandhi's flip-flop. It's almost they're going to become...
In what context do people say Gandhi's flip-flop?
I'm pretty sure it's a reference to bad breath, but I...
Oh, okay. Okay.
But Gandhi...
Breath like Gandhi's flip-flop. I'm pretty sure that if Gandhi... Probably it was... They were sandals, though. Surely not.
Gandhi's, they were. But
not like those Brazilian flip flops that everybody wears on holiday.
No, not those. No, not those.
I suppose if you were Australian, you'd say he had breath like Gandhi's thongs.
Yes, but when we'd raise an eyebrow at that, wouldn't we?
Well, it's confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing.
But then,
anyway, Gandini. He lived till 85, and I've always thought that I don't need to live to 85, but I don't know whether I'm going to or not. But I think he lived a very full life, and obviously has a hell of a legacy. I don't think I've ever owned any Gandini designed cars. I'm just trying to think.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I've had a Mark 1 Derby. Did he design the VW Derby as well as the Polo? I bet he did.
I don't know.
I bet he did.
Is there a list of... There must be a list. The trouble is when all the obituaries probably just listed his greatest hits.
Yeah, it's all the Countach.
Fiat X19, of course.
Yes, which was
another Bertoni job, and that's...
Well, it's like a working class Stratos, I always thought. Don't you think?
And one of my personal favourites that I think finally people are now appreciating... The Bertoni 308 GT4.
Yes.
Which I always thought was just terrific.
Yeah.
And also sort of quite modern, in terms of its proportions, compared to then the Pininfarina 308 that came afterwards, but not really respected for a while. I think they look fabulous. There's a list here of cars he designed. Oh, God. Alpha Montreal.
What? Of course he did. Which is still one of my favourite looking cars of all time because of the amazing louvered eyebrows.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Fabulous. Load of Lamborghinis. Miura. Now, the Miura's a bit disputed, isn't it? Because it is sort of said that, in fact, Giugiaro started that and then left Bertoni and Gandini came in and finished it off.
I mean, I've stared at one. I've been out in one in the last couple of years, and I have to say it was incredibly exciting. And opening the door. If you ever get the chance to do it or see it, the open door of a Miura is one of the coolest pictures you'll take. The shape of the open door is just amazing.
Yeah, it's supposed to look like bull horns, isn't it, from the front?
That's right. It is incredible.
Both doors. Hey, do you know what he designed? Now, this is, I think, is worthy of inclusion up there with some of his supercars. He designed the Renault Magnum truck.
The Renault Magnum.
One of the most imposing lorries ever made in Europe.
That is interesting. I wonder if they're collectible.
I don't know.
Because certain trucks are, like all these things, like certain Scanias have a real reputation, certain Fodens do. Depends on the engine combo, and the same as tractors. Certain tractors have a real collectability. Like people love a logging tractor because they're a bit more macho. In fact, maybe Bumble Hole Foods have got one around the back. Who knows? Don't know.
No. I'm looking down this list, and I'm going to say that you haven't owned any Gandini designed car.
Okay.
Because I think the most modest thing that he's credited for is the Mark 1 Polo / Audi 50.
Of course, because it was an Audi 50 first, wasn't it?
Yeah. The Auto Bianchi A112 is probably, again, sort of the most modest thing. And then the Citroen BX. And
I've never owned a BX.
Fiat 132. Oh gosh, there's loads of stuff here. Loads. The original 5 Series is a
Gandini recipe
to him. Yeah, because that was Bertoni, wasn't it? Gosh, he's done a lot of cars. Well, I mean, it's I don't know how many of these he actually,
he's hard to know,
sketched, because car design is a team effort, but certainly he's credited with all of these cars. And there's some pretty good ones on here. Lamborghini Espada.
Oh.
Maserati Camzin. Oh.
Sweet car.
Yes. They're so good, those.
I'm going to bring in a little bit of car news to the conversation, worryingly. I'm going to throw a couple of things at you, see what happens.
Go on.
I'm going to just put this out there. Tank turning in cars.
Oh, yes.
It's a shit idea. No one's ever going to do it. Just shreds tyres. And when's the scenario when you'll need to tank turn in a passenger car?
This is because you've seen people have been driving that Yangwang U8 SUV in the UK, haven't they?
Yes.
Which can tank turn. It's true. When I saw...
And Rivian have been able to do it, and I think the Cybertruck can do it, and the new Mercedes...
But do Rivian allow customers to do it, or is it just something that they have programmed into prototypes to show off?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I haven't had the inclination to ask.
I think this Yangwang, it's something that anyone can do.
If you said, I'm going to go and tank turn my Yangwang, someone is going to read into that and say, that's prison. That's prison code. I
did watch the videos of this thing tank turning, and my first thought is just...
tyre wear.
The tyres. You're wrecking your tyres. What are you doing?
You will absolutely ruin your tyres.
I don't know that it's pronounced Yangwang. I think it's not.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know. Because I read Autocar's review of it, and I think they said it's not pronounced Yangwang.
Is it?
I have to look this up now.
Is it Bumble Hole Food?
Yes, it is actually pronounced. Ironically, Yangwang is Chinese for bumhole.
Oh gosh. Okay.
No, I don't.
So I don't see the point in it. I know it's been around and it's doing its thing. So I'm not interested in tank turning, because it's just going to be one of those things where you might buy a good car, which has it. You'll do it once, maybe on a campsite, or in a field at an event, and then go, right, that's that done. Never going to need it, so let's turn that off. I can neither confirm nor deny that the new electric G-Wagon will do that, but I just think it's not going to be particularly unique or special very soon.
No, well, it's sort of, it's funny, but if you did it in a field, then less worry about your tyres, but you are going to make an absolute mess of the field, aren't you? So.
I'd love to do it pissed in a festival field. Yes, absolutely.
Just set it going and then get out and see how long it'll just go. It'll start to sort of slowly pirouette its way through towards the pyramid stage at Glastonbury.
I'd quite like that sort of middle-aged guy campsite car takeovers. So you lock off an area at a campsite and people have got a ring of barbecues or something, and you go in there. Someone will be playing a little bit of dance music. Everyone gets to go in there in their family car and just dick about for a couple of minutes, and then the next one. So, like those what are they called again? They are called those in America where they lock off a junction and just dick about, usually in stolen cars, and unfortunately they can't seem to drive very well either, which I find quite irritating. Well, usually it goes into terminal understeer and either hits people or a bus shelter or another car that their mate owns. It's just pathetic. It's like, listen, if you're gonna peacock, learn to peacock in private first and then display. That's the way it goes. It's true.
I found the autocar thing here. It says Yang Wang isn't pronounced the way you might expect it to be, by the way. The ang bits sound more like the or you might say to a cute kitten.
Yong.
Or. What would you say to a cute kitten? Or. So it's your war.
Your war?
Going by that. Your war. Your war. No.
Your war.
It's hard to know. It's a strange looking thing, isn't it? I mean, it's sort of, from many angles, it does look like an imitation of a Land Rover Defender, but with a very
large mouth,
overdone mouth. Yeah. Apparently, it's not, because Your War are a division of BYD.
Yeah.
Who, of course, are now selling cars in the UK, but this is apparently not officially coming to the UK yet, but may do.
So, listen, guys, continuing my observations.
Yes.
I've been running every day in March to raise money for charity.
Yes, you have, and you haven't mentioned it on the podcast yet.
No, I haven't. I've been humble. But now I'm an unwell man, which means occasionally I've had to run every other day because I've been a bit broken, and I have to run double the distance on that day.
Just explain, what's your target here?
Well, my original target was a couple of £100 for cancer research. I think I'm up to a couple of £1,000 now, which is amazing. Really taken me by surprise. So thanks to everyone that's donated, and to a cause which sadly affects an awful lot of us. So I'm really pushing through. It's not actually much of a distance in itself. It's just the fact that it's every day. That's what makes it really hard.
What's the distance?
Minimum of 2 miles a day. But you realise you don't get a rest, and that's the hard bit. There's been one day so far which I haven't been able to run because I had to get up really early for a shoot, and I came back really late. So I just had to run double the next day, and I felt like death. But I pushed through, and that's why I sound like this now. But on my run, I don't take music or anything on my run. I just let my thoughts go wild.
You don't?
No, I just listen to the robins and just stare at the bin men. Yeah,
right.
That's all I do. Yeah, I enjoy listening to a lot of cold starts because I nearly always do it in the morning unless I can't. Enjoying a lot of cold starts at the moment from various people. Does that make me sad? I think it possibly does now that I've said it out loud.
No, I don't think so. It's impressive. So 2 miles a day.
Yeah.
So sort of nearest damn it 3 kilometres a day, every day.
Every day, yeah, every day. But I've been doing more than 2 miles a day. So because the route I take, which is my usual route, is slightly more than 2 miles, and I can't be bothered to deviate, frankly. So I've been doing that and stretching hard.
Now, because I was going to say that I've been off the running. I'm sort of back on it now. I was off the running for a while because I injured my knee, and I think the way I injured my knee was by doing too much running.
Don't say that.
Going out 3 or 4 times a week. Well, no, I've just got shit knees. I don't think it's universal, but it's just. But that's the thing. I find more than a certain amount of running or days running per week is punishing to my creaky middle-aged bones. So
joints.
I'm impressed that you're doing this every day. And it's also finding the motivation to do it, because when it's cold or pissing down or something, it's like,
oh my gosh,
it's hard to.
I woke up the other morning, I hadn't slept too well. I could hear the rain drumming on the window, and I thought, I'm going to get soaked within minutes of being out, but I've got to do it. I put it off for a little bit. I went on eBay on my phone for about 5 minutes, and then I thought, no, Johnny, pull yourself together, get your shoes on, get your shorts on, and get out. And I did. I'm glad I did it, because it wasn't as hard as I thought. But these are a couple of the things that have thoroughly cheered me up. Do you remember a long time ago that I mentioned the local window cleaner that looks like the BFG?
You did, yes. I remember that.
Well, there are no more Ford Focus saloons or insignias. He's gone up in the world, or across, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, the BFG window cleaner. He's only gone and got a Chevy Cruze estate.
What?
Yeah, I think it's quite a rare car.
I think so, but I'm not sure that's up.
Do you think it's across?
I'm going to call it. That's down.
Oh, you think that's down?
Oh, yeah. Really? What, from a Focus?
It is a Focus saloon, though. It's the frumpy one. Awful looking thing.
Yeah, but I bet it's still quite pleasant to drive. I mean, you could even argue, I bet the saloon's got a more rigid body than the hatchback or the estate. I don't know.
That's true, actually.
Assume so.
Okay,
so maybe the handling is, if anything, a little more crisp.
I think you might be right. So that was something that I observed recently. The other thing I observed, there's a line of attractive, large 70s luxury houses on the first leg of my run. And I noticed every morning the double garage door is up on one of these houses, which has a flawless garden, really well tended to. And inside the garage, the guy was just starting up and bringing out a 2005 Citroen Picasso and a Gen 1 Nissan Qashqai. And I looked at them both and went, is he the only person left in the whole of the UK who garages worthless cars? He's garaging worthless cars. It's amazing.
Imagine, I bet they're in immaculate condition.
Oh, seriously, I nearly stopped my run to look at them because they looked really polished. And he's one of those guys that wakes up in the morning and has the ritual. And it's garage gets opened, cars get pulled out onto the drive ready for when him or her need to use them. And then at night they get put away. So I can't bear it because it jars with me. Like, you wouldn't. Why would you start it up to move it 2 meters to shut it off? Because that's awful.
Not good.
No, well, it takes loads of power out of the battery for just to start it. But
are you sure he was shutting them off again, or was he in fact then just letting them warm up on the drive?
Oh, Rich, I don't know. I was running, but all I know is
you should have stopped. I mean, forget your charitable endeavours.
It made me think.
To know. I'm fascinated by this man now. Is he the curator of a very ordinary car museum?
Well, I'm gonna run and see him tomorrow morning. But I think this could be a daytime TV show called Garaged Worthless Motors. People who really go to the effort of preserving a worthless car. And I love that. I love that it exists. So that was that.
Yeah, that's good. Speaking of ordinary cars, we should say that we are going to be at the Festival of the Unexceptional in the summer, aren't we, doing some shenanigans, which we'll talk about nearer the time.
We will.
But if you're thinking of going to the Festival of the Unexceptional, it's on the 27th of July. We're going to be there. We're going to do a live podcast recording, but we're also going to do various other bits and pieces on stage and generally hang around looking at the magnificently ordinary cars that people have brought along.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Neither of us have been before, have we? So it's like it's quite odd that we haven't been before because it feels like it's right up our street. Anyway,
it's exceptional.
We're going to be there. So hopefully we will see some of you there in July, and we'll talk about it again near the time and explain more of what we're planning.
It's another reason to may or may not commit to buying an Eagle Quest Vauxhall Senator funereal car. I haven't.
Of course,
I haven't
Eagle
done
Quest.
it.
Oh, by the way, you an absolute pipe that asked for people to leave reviews that simply said Eagle Quest.
Have people been doing it?
I don't think you understand the unimaginable power that you have when you say these things, because now we've got loads of fucking reviews that just say Eagle Quest.
Really? Seriously?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they are 5-star reviews, so that's nice. But yes, anyone who doesn't know what's going on with this podcast and just stumbles into our reviews will be absolutely baffled by what it's saying up there at the moment. Anyway,
that's brilliant.
What was the other thing you were saying you'd seen on your run?
Okay, so yeah, I know. I made a list when I came back because I don't take my phone on a run. Pulling out of the fuel station, because I run past a fuel station, which is actually the most keenly priced fuel station in this area. I noticed it really made me lose my pace, because I was giggling at how unbelievably bad the body and the paintwork was on this car. I mean, it was so bad. It looked like someone had made it out of icing from a cake. It was a 1972 Renault 12, I think.
Oh.
You know, the ones that look sort of the same at the front as the back?
The one that's... it's
got a big filler flap, filler hole, a chrome filler thing.
Has it got a big filler flap on those?
It's got a big filler hole in the back panel. Looks like sort of a mole on someone's lip. It's a terrible looking car. I never liked it. I thought they looks cack. But
they're sort of quite saggy-arsed somehow, aren't they?
Yes.
They're the ones that became a Dacia or Dacia or Daisy.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
So that was the...
God, you saw one of those?
I saw one of those, and it was right-hand drive. And I thought to myself, well, they're not a desirable car anyway. But this person has gone to the effort of seemingly spatulaing on filler every year since about 1988. And then painting it in metallic silver with their hands. It looked so bad. Honestly, you know when a child makes a spacesuit out of like crumpled foil and bad paint? It just looks so bad. I couldn't stop looking at it, and it ruined the rest of my run for me because I was giggling. I was like, I love the fact that they're obviously proud of it and they've kept it on the road, but that is so full of horrible filler and shit paintwork.
Yeah.
It's absolutely grotesque. So that
it sounds like a couple of weeks ago I took my daughter to London, and we were walking down the South Bank, and there was one of those guys who stands on they bring along a box and stand on it, and some of them pretend to be statues, and there was a guy who was doing some sort of piratey shtick, but there was a bloke who was a sort of homemade spacesuit. And he'd not thought it through. I noticed, we walked behind him, and I noticed that his sort of, whatever it's supposed to be, oxygen pack / jetpack, that, bear in mind, he's all sprayed silver. Everything about him is silver.
Yes.
His backpack, it looked to be like a cardboard box, and one of the things he'd glued to it was just a pair of swimming goggles, and then he'd sprayed over them in silver. You're like, what's that? That's so obviously a pair of swimming goggles. What effect were you going for? But then also, he'd sprayed I don't know what clothes they were. I don't think it was jeans, but his trousers, he'd obviously sprayed them with paint and not thought that as he moved, the paint would kind of crack and flake off.
Of course.
And it looked up close really terrible, but the bloke's trying to earn a living, so I wasn't going to go, oi, mate, your suit's shit. But it looked a bit, it sounds like it looked like this Renault 12.
That's, honestly, the finish on this Renault 12 was just like no other. It was like no other.
I can't believe you saw a Renault 12 full stop.
Well,
I can't remember that.
I was quite surprised. But I thought to myself, I hope that car's really sentimental to that person. Otherwise, you just go and buy a really nice one for about £1,600.
Speaking of cars in terrible condition, and I'm not going to be able to find this now. Somebody sent us a photo. They, you see, this is I should have
prepped this.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to look while
I found it. Right. So it's a listener called Jim Murray. Hello, Jim. Jim came, in fact, to our Glasgow show. He said it was great to see you live in not Glasgow last week. It reminded me a while back, you used to mention something about stealth or vigilante car detailing, where cars that had not been washed in a long time will be detailed in the middle of the night. Either that or I'm mixing you up with another podcast. No, that was us.
No, that was us.
It's okay, you're on safe
That
ground.
was us.
Don't do that sort of thing on the intercooler. He said, one of my neighbours hasn't washed their car in all the time I've lived here, 10 plus years and counting.
What?
I've been trying to get a photograph of it for ages, but the woman is just fucking scary, and walking up to their house to take a pic could end in a visit to the A&E.
10 years, a decade of not cleaning it.
Well, so I read this and I thought, yeah, okay, so it sounds like it's a pretty manky car after 10 years. And then I scrolled down to the actual photograph that Jim's managed to get finally, because he was helping another neighbour work on their car, noticed this dirty car driving on the road, so he whipped out his phone and took a picture while hiding behind another car.
Oh, stealth.
I scrolled down to the photograph. It is extraordinary. It is a Ford C-Max that was once light blue. It looks like an abandoned car. It's covered in moss, that sort of kind of
Lichen.
algal kind of. Yeah, it looks like it's been rescued from a canal.
Is it that bad?
And this person, it's astonishing. I read the email and I was thinking, yes, okay, dirty car, I'm sure. But I gasped when I scrolled down. I'll put this picture on the Patreon. But Jim, I appreciate your bravery if this woman's as scary as she sounds, but that is genuinely an extraordinary state. It looks like scrap.
Algal C-Max.
Algal C-Max.
I don't understand why.
From them later.
You just get some school kids to do it for some cash, wouldn't you?
Yes, but it's like, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a local. If you really can't be bothered, one of those local things. It's like they'd probably do it for a tenner. Well, they probably wouldn't now because it would take them all day to get all that moss off. But yeah, I'll put that picture on the Patreon because it's worth seeing.
Well, even if you don't care about the paint, you could just spray some toilet cleaner on it and leave it overnight, and it would just degrease the whole car, wouldn't it? Just lace some toilet duck over the bad boy.
Would that be any good for the paint?
No, it would be appalling for the paint, Rich. But the car is destined to a life of doom anyway, isn't it? It sounds like imagine what its oil's like in the engine. It's probably one of those cars where she bought it and then just didn't. It never occurred to her that it might need maintaining at some point. It's
amazing the tyres are still pumped up, actually, isn't it? Which they do seem to be for the photo.
It's got an MOT, I assume.
It's like just the other day I was saying to someone about how Ferdinand Piëch insisted that the glove boxes of Volkswagens were nice sort of flock-lined rather than just hard plastic. And his logic was, when someone was looking around one in the showroom, they'd go, wow, if they've done that in here, imagine what the engine's like. And this is the sort of reverse of that, isn't it? You go, wow, if the outside of her car looks like this, imagine what the engine's like. It's probably gasping on the last thimble of really manky bits in it.
Of no-name supermarket oil. You say that, but actually, last weekend or a couple of weekends ago, I spent the whole weekend working on my Citroen 2CV.
Yes.
And I haven't put a video out of it yet, but I have filmed all of the progress. But we got an enormous amount done in a day. It's amazing how quickly you can dismantle a 2CV. But the reason why I'm telling you this is that my car is algal. It does have lichen and moss on it. Which I'm not going to keep the moss and the lichen. But I am going to keep the weathering. A lot of the paint has burnt down to the primer, and it's beautifully weathered. I'm trying to preserve that, but that car will be immaculate mechanically, and it actually will have paint underneath and the floor pans and things. So it'll be painted where nobody looks because I'm a freak. But this lady, I don't know. Imagine if that car's got a chromed engine bay. And when Jim's asleep, she goes out with a autosol and a load of old toothbrushes and she's only interested in the inner wings being cleaned. Nothing else gets cleaned. Inner wings under the bonnet, strut tops.
And maybe it's highly tuned. It's running a massive turbo, but this is like how she goes stealth.
Yeah.
Make it look absolutely unloved on the outside. No one will nick it.
She's county lines. She's county lines running.
County lines running in a C-Mac.
She is.
Yeah,
that's what she's doing.
I mean, Jim says she's quite scary, so it would somehow, you could make the leap towards an involvement in something that required high performance.
She'll come across as being a sort of a desperate single mother with lots of trauma in her life, but she's not. This is all calculated. She's running county lines.
Queen bee of a huge organisation.
Absolutely.
Speaking of people who were at the live show, not quite in Glasgow, we had if you remember, we had an audience question from a chap who was going to Japan.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get his name on the night, but it turns out the chap's called James. Hello, James.
Hi, James. I liked your question. It was a good one.
He wanted to know where he should woolard while he was in Japan. And we came up with a few suggestions. Well, God damn it, James has actually done it on one of our suggestions, which was the Shibuya famous, huge pedestrian crossing in Tokyo.
Yes.
And he sent us pictures of him woolarding on his wheelchair on the Shibuya crossing.
Seriously?
We'll put him on the Patreon. Yeah. And then
That's brilliant.
I also tried to do it on a bullet train, but I got told off.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. That's brilliant, isn't it? So,
that's seriously impressive.
James, that's absolutely fantastic. I did, and James is a patron, so he was aware of this. When I came to put together the show notes for that episode, which we do every week on our Patreon for people who don't know, so it's sort of extra links and photos and all these things that support the episode, extra info, I wanted to put a link to the Toyota MegaWeb showroom that I mentioned as a recommendation for people who are going to Japan, and discovered that it closed 2 years ago.
Oh, I know why.
Why?
People kept going there and having sex. Around the back of all the MPVs.
It is a very arousing place.
Yeah, so it's like a hangout point for young randy people.
Fortunately, James did see this in the show notes, and so was aware, because I put it up there that the MegaWeb had closed down. So he was aware of that and wouldn't waste his time trying to go out to the docks where it was. But yeah, it's shut down. So anyway, James, that's fantastic, and I will share the picture for our patrons.
That is brilliant. Well done, James. You probably
woolarding in Japan.
You've bossed that, as the kids would
On
say.
that note, have I told you this? Oh, also, just a quick thank you to another listener called Jawad Siddiqui, who sent me a link to a Toyota Century that's up for sale. That's almost suspiciously low priced,
really,
compared to other Centuries. Yeah, I mean, they're not giving it away.
Is it sale of the century? Sorry.
Walked into that one.
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
That's partly why I want to own a Toyota Century, just so that when I decide to part with it, I can go, yep, it's the sale of the century. Which,
I'll follow you around.
So yeah, thank you, Jawad, for that. I don't know. I've temporarily shifted my JDM craving towards K cars, because I've just written a K car feature for the Road Rat magazine, and I did a load of research for it, and it's made me really, really want a K car. And I've gone a bit K car crazy, to the extent that I've joined a Honda Beat Facebook group.
Oh my gosh! Wow, you have gone in deep.
Going on?
Would you want to buy a Honda Beat?
But then I was looking at the Beat,
because my friend who runs the 2CV shop where I was working on my 2CV, he's about to sell his Honda Beat. Darren.
Seriously?
Yeah, he's got a Honda Beat. He's owned it for years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's near you. Because he's in Wiltshire, Rich.
What?
Yes.
Put me into after this.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Okay. All right. Okay.
My actual obsession, although they're a bit more money, is S660s, the little mid-engine Hondas from more recent times, but they are a bit, they're obviously more pricey, but then they are more modern. But a Beat, assuming I can fit in a Beat, I bloody love a Beat. The trouble is, it's just they are 90s Hondas, and as you know, that means they're sort of 30-odd years old, and there's just. I was looking at one that's for sale, and when I ran through its MOT history, as you get further back, there's some fairly catastrophic corrosion, which you assume has now been fixed because it's not showing up on more recent MOTs. But things like that, you always go,
yeah, how
was it fixed? Who fixed it?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Were they any good?
It's the quality of the fix, because if they've lived in this country a long time, they will have rotted. Same as cappuccinos and all that, and all that jazz and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw there's someone we know, Joe Fidalgo, who's on Instagram. She has a cappuccino, and I saw some pictures she put up of when her cappuccino went in to be, basically restored, I think. And the rot underneath was pretty significant by the looks of it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're made of very thin metal, unfortunately. Like a 2CV.
Yeah, anyway. But yeah, K-cars, oh man, they're so good. Anyway, let's not get too bogged down.
No, you're obviously getting a little bit flustered.
I am. Well, so, because my Range Rover is going, I've had it cleaned up. Well, I had it. I did a bit of a joint effort, actually. I did some cleaning up as well. I'm not a completely lazy bastard, but
I'm glad.
So yeah, all cleaned up, ready to go. I was going to put it on one of the auction sites.
Are you going to find another terminology, or is it not really relevant in this instance?
I would say that I might be pushing my luck, particularly as I saw, weirdly, from the train yesterday on my way to London, I saw an absolutely identical silver late model supercharged L322 in a station car park, and it was very muddy up the sides, as if it had been used on a farm, and one of the door mirrors was wrapped in gaff.
Ugh.
But otherwise it looked very tidy, and it had a badge on the grille that I couldn't quite make out what it was, but it looked like it might have been sort of not Goodwood Drivers Club or something, but something similar.
Was it the statue of a swan?
No.
Oh.
But then what happened is, at that station, I think was it Chippenham, then this extremely tiny old lady got on, and she was wearing a tweed cap, and she started reading a horse racing newspaper. And I was looking at her and I was going, I think you might be exceptionally posh. And then I started wondering if it was her Range Rover.
Was she like the stature of the Queen, the late Queen?
She had the stature and seemingly the interests of the late Her Majesty the Queen.
Amazing.
And of course we know that Queen Elizabeth II was an L322 enthusiast. So I began to wonder, and I wished I'd looked at the Range Rover before we'd pulled out of the station to see if the driver's seat was set incredibly far forward, because this lady was tiny.
Well, I've got an update on the Puba. Do you remember my conversation about the Rover Puba?
Yes.
The pub Uber, which may or may not.
So it's a car that you could lend out to pub patrons who needed to get them and their mates home, assuming they weren't shit-faced. Yeah.
Yes. So this local Puba that's a Rover, I actually I run past it every day at the moment. And there's a Citroen Picasso next to it, which has had some really, really agricultural sill welding, and there's been no effort to hide it at all. It looks like it's been attacked by a forklift truck, and then in someone's lunch hour they've hastily tin snipped it back out again,
God.
and then hammered it, and then tried to weld it back over. But the Puba has moved perhaps 3 times in the last 6 months. I got messaged by somebody locally who said, you were talking about that Rover pub car, weren't you? And I said, yeah. He goes, the guy who owns it lives opposite the pub, and he's allowed to park it in there, so it's not actually owned by the pub. And then the next line it said, apparently he bought it as an investment. And I just think
it's a Rover 45, isn't it?
It's a Rover 45 that gets left outside all the time. And so even if it was garaged in a cocoon that was temperature controlled and it was 8,000 miles from new, it's still going to struggle to be $2,000 worth, would you say? Even if it was...
God, yeah.
So I don't understand the logic. I do not understand the logic at all.
An investment. So weird.
I know, it probably made me giggle as well. And the other thing, while I was on my run, this will be a quick one. I sometimes go past an old windmill. Obviously that means that part of the run gets windy, which just makes me really irritated. But the windmill is pretty. It's a classic windmill. And it made me realise nobody dislikes classic windmills, do they? Everyone's fond of an old windmill, but yet wind turbines can really rile people, and they think, I don't want a wind farm near me, it's unsightly. So who are these people?
So you're saying that the renewable energy industry should just make wind turbines look like nice old windmills, and then everybody would be happy.
Can you do Resto Mod wind turbines? I'd really like it. So it looks classic, and obviously Kevin MacLeod will get all breathy about it. But actually, it's running modern internals, and it makes enough electricity for India and Howard to power their whole renewable energy house and charge both Teslas.
Yes.
See? Amazing.
India seems to be pregnant again, as per the Grand Design's rules for Kevin MacLeod's visits.
Grand penetrations
we should wrap this
with
up,
Kevin MacLeod.
But before we go, just one other little bit of business from our recent live show. Somebody, and I know who it is because they've signed it. They gave us a card. They gave us an envelope. And I stuck it in my pocket and only opened it when I was back home. And it's a specially made card for us that says Happy 200th episode on the front. And then it's inside. It says, to Richard and Johnny, it's my honour to extend the felicitations of the Scottish Massive to you on the occasion of your 200th episode, and happy 45th birthday to Johnny Otsot. Cheers. Gordon Marie et al. Or is it Gordon Barry et al? I'm sorry, Gordon. I don't know what that second word says. Anyway, Gordon. But I presume it's Gordon then who's responsible for what's on the front of this card, which is, it's basically a sort of collage of things that are relevant to us. So it's our logo, a Toyota Century, a stock photo of a bottle of Brut, Sade, a man in a hoodie doing a wheelie on a mountain bike, a small traction engine, a picture of us on stage at a previous live show, a Honda E, a Heritage Defender, and a Panda 100 horsepower.
That sounds like
really nice.
What a lovely montage.
Yes, it is a lovely montage. So I'll put a picture of that on the page.
That sounds great.
That's very thoughtful.
Well, thank you so much.
And for remembering, in advance, that it was our 200th episode, which is something that we signally failed to do on the night.
I know, we were awful, weren't we? We really didn't laud that up.
Well, plus ça change. Right. Anyway, we should wrap this up. I think I'd been thinking for a while that we needed some new end music, because we got the one that says like and subscribe and review, and then we've got the merchandise one. I was like, we need one big song that sort of promotes everything we need to promote.
Yeah.
And for some reason it ought to be a ballad. So the other afternoon I was desperately avoiding doing some work, and I came up with a new song. So we'll play out with that. And until next time, thank you ever so much for listening.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon, what wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise, we've mugs and hats but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.